So this movie addresses the question of what would be like if somebody tried to be a superhero in real life, and I say fuck that because it's hard enough trying to be a good citizen. How much as a superhero?
Hey, you ain't even trying to do that. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
He didn't even pay his taxes.
It's hard enough for Cyrus to walk down the street and not get his ass kicked on a daily basis. How's he going to do it as a superhero?
That's true. The costume did help though because they thought I was crazy.
That's why you got your ass kicked.
So it might have that retard strength.
It's like you need to quit going to those Rocky Horror Picture Shows because that's not helping. Man.
Yeah, come on, now, Dr. Frank Feather outfit. I'm sorry, but
I was gonna say,
Here I come to have gay sex with the day.
you have to say gay sex with the day,
the day,
with the whole day.
I mean, anything that crosses his path.
Cyrus wastes no time.
I mean, even
Only
cats,
when I'm in costume.
I know. Cats be walking up to you and be like, "Oh hell no, here comes Cyrus. He ain't having gay sex with me again."
Wait, you can't have gay sex with me. I'm a woman. All right, well then put this strap on.
This is all hypothetical, I'd like to point out.
No, it's not. Anyway, the thing is, this is what happens when a teenager with no superpowers or no billions of dollars to back him up tries to be
common sense.
Yeah. I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. I mean, if you read a lot of comic books, especially when you're a kid, there is that like, well, wait, this is possible. Somebody could do this if they were dedicated. And I suppose this story tells you like, well, no, they couldn't.
No, they couldn't. I mean, we got some people who are trying it today, and fortunately, they realize how dangerous it is, and they've just settled to like giving sandwiches to the homeless. In costume, which you don't need a fucking costume to do that.
Yeah, I mean, you got Curtis Lewa from the Guardian Angels, who did his thing for a while, and then the mob caught him in a cab and shot him in the nuts like 6 times.
Yeah.
In the nuts.
What, they just shot him in the nuts
Yeah,
6 times?
they did that. Like
Once doesn't really get the point
no,
across?
it was to send a message.
He's vulnerable there.
This kryptonite is nuts.
That's funny how
You
that
didn't read about
works.
that?
Yeah.
You didn't read that in his comic book?
I tell you this, if I did go out in a superhero outfit, yeah, that would be the place where I've got the titanium steel armor.
Yeah. Better lesson learned from that.
Yeah. His name must have been As Pounder or something.
But in this movie, we got a teenager named Dave. What is it? Lewinsky, whatever his name is. He's a nerd and these are the people who are most likely to do this kind of thing because he's sitting around reading comic books all day, doesn't have a girlfriend, got loser friends that he's hanging out with.
Jerking off at the computer every day like myself.
Man, all he needs is his parents to get killed for him to he would have no choice but to be a superhero.
Well, one did, but died of an aneurysm at the dinner table. So
Yeah, so there's nothing tragic in his life. All he's got is that he wonders why there aren't any real life superheroes.
And they get together and they start asking him and his friends, they're saying, why can't somebody do this? I mean, sure, you don't get superpowers, but how come somebody can't get into a costume and go out and get like 2 big sticks or something and fight crime? And he goes out and does it, and he quickly learns that, you get stabbed and possibly run over by a car when you do that.
Yes.
Yeah. However, he keeps going. It's like, I'm addicted to this. And he gets lucky, but not being discovered the first time. He goes out and does it again. This time he's kind of successful. And people begin to realize, hey, wow, we have a real life superhero in our midst. Like you were just saying, though, when it seems cool at first because of YouTube and everybody's looking at you, giving you all kind of hits and everything, like saying, oh, wow, it's kick-ass. That's what he gives his name after he goes out and buys like a little crappy scuba suit and everything.
Yeah.
He attracts attention from real villains. And we're not talking about super villains. We're talking about mob people with guns.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's one thing when you're fighting Dr. Octopus, who's put a lot of money into his arms, and he's doing all this kind of wild, crazy stuff. It's a sight to see. But a mob is not going to, make a big speech, fight you in the middle of downtown. It is going to just, kill you with a bullet or a knife or your family. It's going to be quiet. It's going to be unsexy, and your shit will just be over.
Yeah, you will. You try to pull that shit on them, too, like, tell me about your plans. My plans? Bam! That's my plans, motherfucker.
You'll never get away with
Spider-Man would have ended with the second reel where Aunt May's house just gets completely riddled by bullets in a drive-by.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be done by the superheroes. It'd be like a gang of 10-year-olds on bicycles. But
as much as they're trying to say okay, this is what would happen in the real world, this is also not at all the real world, because there's a father-daughter team here played by Nicolas Cage as the father, Big Daddy, and I forget the girl.
Chloe Moritz, I think?
Chloe Moritz, who plays Hit Girl, who's 12 years old, maybe, I think. And
Yeah, she's
they're
11 at the
actually going out and fighting crime vigilante style.
Yeah, and they are brutal. They're relentless.
Yeah, they're the Wolverine of this world, and they don't give a shit. And they are after that same mob boss who mistakenly thinks that Kick-Ass is the one who is taking out his men.
Yeah,
which is a problem.
Well, that's kind of bad.
I know it's great that it's a mix up. Like you got real superheroes out there doing all the good shit, and the guy who does nothing, who
doesn't have
blame for,
who's just lucky.
yeah.
It's funny because when he meets this team, this dynamic duo of this team is so relentless, so brutal. It's like a Punisher meets Itchy the Killer. I mean, once this kid sees what they do, he becomes a whiny. He actually starts to break down because he's like, oh fuck, I can't do that. That's crazy.
Dude, they're so violent. They're almost the Punisher meets Itchy and Scratchy.
Yeah.
No, they're crazy, man. It's and they're kind of modeled after, at least Big Daddy, the Nicolas Cage character is modeled after Batman. It's like if Batman just didn't give a shit.
Well, he's even modeled himself after Batman.
Yeah.
Because there's even a running joke in the film that I don't want to give away around his character that is really funny in Batman joke. That if you're a fan of the character, you'll laugh your ass off.
Yeah, this is I'll let you guys elaborate more on this, but this is from the comic book by Mark Millar and what's his name?
John Romita Jr.
Yeah, Romita Jr. And it's pretty close to the book in character and tone, at least with the violence that occurs, and in the humor. I mean, they switch some things around in it just because it's a movie. They always do that when they adapt things.
A comic book is only supposed to be shorthand. I mean, that's enough to get your concept out there. I mean, a comic book isn't even really a storyboard. It's just giving you the bare bones of what a story should be. So a movie should be faithful to the concept and the spirit, but not to panel per panel. That's just a dumb way to go.
Well, it catches the essence of the comic book great. I mean,
it does.
Yeah, if you love the comic, if you've read it, then I don't see why you would be displeased with it.
And I suspect it's self-aware enough to realize that when he handed in the script for the original comic and went, yeah, we can't end it like that. People are going to hate that ending.
I got to say, man, I love the comic, but I hated the ending of it.
They drastically change it for the movie.
Good.
It's really different. It works. It sells.
Not being a fan of the not that I'm not a fan. It's just I haven't read the comic book, so just going in watching it as a viewer, it really floored me because I was like, man, this is like a hardcore version of Spider-Man with a little sense of reality to it. Even though, when Hit Girl and Big Daddy introduced, then it goes into its over the top, just craziness that the film is. But as a viewer, it really did kick my ass because I was like, wow, where in the hell else am I going to see a little girl, 11-year-old girl, like just mow down a bunch of mob guys and turn them into Lunchables? I mean, where else are you going to see that? It's so insane and crazy, but they do it so well to where it never bores you and it never gets hokey.
Yeah, my biggest fear was that Matthew Vaughn, the director, was not going to be able to film action, like this kind of crazy action. But wow, he can really film this kind of action. Well, watching that little girl whip around and do crazy shit no full-grown person could do is an experience in and of itself. You could just watch those scenes and give it a full price just based on that.
Yeah, how's Mark Strong as the villain?
Mark Strong is great.
Yeah.
This is the first time I've seen Mark Strong. If you know Mark Strong, you most recently saw him as the villain in Sherlock Holmes, and you've seen him before. He's a British guy, but in this he has to play an American mobster.
I mean, this guy's a real chameleon because I didn't realize that was him in Body of Lies, was it?
It was Body of Lies. Is that the one with no one body? You're talking about the one with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Yeah.
Is that Body of Lies? I don't know. Anyway, it was a Leonardo DiCaprio movie where I first saw him, and he played.
But before that, he was in Stardust. And I didn't realize that was the same guy.
It was another Matthew Vaughn movie. Yeah, he was in Stardust, and then he played in that movie and then in this. And he's played different nationalities. He's played different characters with different features,
different genders.
He played a dog in his next movie.
Mark Strong as the vagina.
You know that last Scarlett Johansson film? That was actually Mark Strong.
Yeah.
He's good.
That guy's way becoming one of my favorite actors. I love that guy.
He is good, and it's unfortunate. The one unfortunate thing about Kick-Ass, I'll say, is that he feels kind of underused. I mean, he's really good when he's there, and he's chewing up the scenery whenever he gets a chance. But there's so many colorful characters in this film already.
Yeah.
People literally colorful that it's like kind of hard for them to bother giving but so much screen time to this guy. I mean, his storyline is mainly expressed through hearing Big Daddy and Hit Girl stories.
Yeah.
So they don't really have to do but so much but to have him be okay, we all know and accept he's the big bad guy in the ivory tower, and once we get through all the mini bosses, we'll get to him. I mean, that's what it is, but it's done with so much style, flair, and just flat out funny as shit comedy that, you don't mind that maybe it's a little familiar.
Yeah, you might not like that he's a stereotype either. I mean, he's your typical Italian mobster.
Well, yeah, he's a comic booky mobster completely, and they're doing that on purpose.
And I thought that's what made him work, because he was very entertaining. You don't really hate the guy until the last reel, to where that's where he really shines. You're talking about, it's like it's one of those ultimate bosses, and that showdown at the end is a great scene featuring him. And and I'm not even about to ruin that, but wow, I mean, you're watching it and you're like, man, this guy is fucking evil.
Yeah, this film is like a comedy for the first 2 reels, and then the last reel turns into this just ridiculously over the top and fun action movie that just does shit I've never seen a movie do before.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this about him, and I'm taking a chance on spoiling things, but does Mark Strong in this movie, did he get that tooth fixed? Because he's got this one tooth that sticks out on top of all the other
ones. Are you
ones.
obsessed with Mark
And whenever
Strong?
they do a close-up on him, it's like, I try not to think about it, but whenever they do a close-up on him, and I see that one spooky tooth